Alrighty, everybody. So welcome back. This is episode 21. We are here again with Joy Monique. So what we wanted to do with this episode, first and foremost, was give her a proper introduction because our last episode did not do justice. So Joy, if you just want to give us a little bit of an intro about you and give us a little bit of your story, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Yes. So I don't even know where to begin sometimes. So my name is Joy Monique. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, originally born and raised. And my journey, right now, of course, I am a online fitness coach. I would say fitness coach in general. I do both online and in-person training. A little bit about my fitness journey. I would say just make a long story short sometimes. So even just growing up, I was very much the overweight, chubby kind of girl. Kind of just runs in the family as well. And then it wasn't really into after college, after high school, going into college, and you kind of want to just like tighten up because you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be out to the real world now. I'm trying to, go into my real adult body. I don't want to carry this childish high school weight with me into this new season. So I really actually buckled down my first year and lost my freshman 15, surprisingly. Did good with that. And then it wasn't until I got into a relationship later on, started to gain the weight back. It happens to the best of us. Probably gained like a good 40 pounds or so back from that like 1 or 2 year time span. And at that point, I was still in a much of a self-discovery mode, trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. I didn't end up graduating from college because I didn't feel like the major I was in was what my passion really was. And I didn't want to keep spending, time and money to just try to figure it out while being in school. So I went ahead and went into the workforce instead. And then fast forward from that, I ended up going to school to be a licensed hairstylist and makeup artist. So that was going to be the plan, just be out here beating faces, getting the hair, getting the curls right and everything. And it was actually while I was in school doing it that I kind of got introduced to fitness in the most unorthodox kind of way. So I had my teacher, she was actually selling these like, detox teas. And she had me try a few of them. It just took me a while to even try the detox tea. Like I actually held on to the pack for like like a few months, honestly, before I even opened it. I was really just like, yeah, I'll try, but I wasn't really like taking that seriously. And so I really like, wanted to buckle down on my own fitness journey. So I'm like, okay, let me at least try it out, whatever. And then she told me that I could also, possibly join her team to sell it as well. So my Capricorn mind was like, oh, another way to make it like a little side money because I'm working, I'm in school, I need some kind of, I'm not afraid of a little hustle. So let me kind of, see how this is going to work out. So I ended up got my first little kit. Started to really get follow the program, start to really promote myself. Mostly in a way by just sharing my own journey, by just starting to actually document myself online, taking all these before pictures. I just knew it was going to work itself out because I didn't want to be that girl selling weight loss products and I wasn't losing weight. So I was like, this has to work. So just really I was doing live workouts on Instagram and Facebook during the pandemic. This last year was really the time that really kind of just like solidified my wellness journey because I had time. I feel like this was a time that God gave me to really be able to just sit back, to take a break, to pause. At that point, I was actually out of school as far as trying to be the hairstylist. So I had space, time, and opportunity. I was working from home to be able to finally pour back into my fitness journey and be able to really spend time working out and meal prepping and doing all this kind of good stuff. And so went through the last year or so really just trying to like buckle down, being consistent in my journey and figuring out what I liked, what worked for me. Eventually stopped selling the detox teas just because when I started to really learn more about my wellness, I realized that wasn't the best way to go to be able to really see or even have or experience very long lasting results. So at that point became like a real conflict with my value systems. I kind of just put that to the side and focusing more so on just continuing to have my live workouts, like sharing the meals I was eating, just showing the ups and downs of me, losing weight, not losing weight, falling off working out for a while, trying to combat because it was a lot going on in 2020. It was a lot for everybody to really experience last year. So even with that time I had to focus on it, it was still like a juggling act. And then it really wasn't until this year in 2021 that I kind of really like realized I had a true passion for fitness beyond just my own journey. Like I really enjoyed working out with other people. I really enjoy seeing everybody else really come into themselves when it comes to learning how to move their body, learning how to really have great form, enjoying their workouts, just keeping everybody upbeat and, positive, light, fun environment. So I guess the light bulb kind of clicked, was like, okay, well, it's like, it's not something that you thought you were going to do. I did not see fitness being my career, and you could not have told me even 2 years ago I would have been trying to become a certified trainer. I just thought I was going to lose my own little weight and then keep things pushing and go from there. But the passion really just kind of like set in with me. So here I am now studying to become a certified trainer and looking to start my own company, as far as like my actual fitness company by the end of this year. So it's been a real interesting journey. I try to make it a long story short for y'all because y'all can detail, we'll be here for a minute for every little thing. But it's like, it's just a crazy thing to kind of see how life just plays out for itself. But I'm honestly, I feel like this is like the best, most natural thing for me to be able to do. So that's my long story short right there.
Definitely, and we appreciate it. I love the fact that although you started with one thing, it just slowly transitioned into exactly where you feel like you need to be. And that's the best part about life in general. Our experiences just all depends on, or I could say we could start from all different walks of life and then slowly but surely end up to where it's like, oh, wow, like the odds, or I would have never thought type of situation, but then come to learn that you love what you do and you're passionate about what you do. So we greatly appreciate that intro. We just wanted to make sure that we definitely got a chance to know you. Now, as far as for today's topic, we were
Yes.
discussing a little bit earlier as well, but just realizing how big of an impact that social media has on individuals and their mental health. So, like we said, like on IG and stuff, yeah, we could post stuff about workouts, et cetera, gym, exercise, food stuff, nutrition. But I think the one thing that we had mentioned beforehand that goes kind of under the radar is the fact that, again, our mental health and how all of this stuff coincides. Like you can't do one without the other. It's just like having a triangle. If two things are on and one is off, it's still out of balance, or anything in general, to give you an analogy. So I definitely want to touch base on that. But so as far as some of the things that you have noticed as far as social media, what are probably like the top two or three things that you feel like there's like this big misconception of on social media when you go on and you feel like that might affect other people as well?
I think people have to really be able to separate reality from social media. It's like the biggest thing that I see that can cause a lot of misconceptions, that can cause a lot of anxiety, pressure, like any kind of like self-image issues that I see, people can have. Typically can kind of at its very core come from what they see and what they're influenced by through what they scroll through, on their phone. So especially like, this last year where everybody wants to be an online fitness influencer or fitness coach. And we all you tend to kind of know that everything isn't quite what it seems, but it's kind of easy to still play into that narrative as well. So you have these certain, like, I guess, body types that get heavily pushed, heavily promoted, but it's not what's typical for most people. Like, most women don't have a certain kind of physique. You may have a little extra curve, a little extra dimple here and there. Every man isn't so straight cut and buff and just, really sharp when it comes to how he's built. They might have a little extra stomach or a little, skinny legs or whatever it could be. It's like just being able to really know who you're following and be able to just, you can admire whatever you see online, but don't try to internalize it. It's like the main thing I think can cause a lot of, mental challenges. And then also just being able to kind of tailor what you see on your page. Your page is yours. Your page is what you created. what you see is kind of like, what you make of it. So like being able to really just like, okay, if I know that certain things trigger me, might need to unfollow a few of those kind of pages. If you know that you're kind of just making whatever your experience that you want to get out, like tear your page or your feed to kind of like reflect that. That's like my main two things I would say, if I could say anything.
And I'll just to piggyback off of what you just said, I'll agree because I think the two words, especially with everything that you just mentioned, is being emotionally aware on
Yeah.
social media and how things, like you said, they trigger you. So what I've been doing this week as well is as I'm going through my feed, because like you said, a lot of social media, doesn't matter which platform, it's based on an algorithm. So it's really based on, I don't know how in depth, but knowing how, some of those, gentlemen and females think about it on their end on a technical term, when you're scrolling and how long you might stay on something. These are, different ways that they're capturing data. And as they'll see that you're starting to watch certain things more frequently, it'll pop up in your feed. So
Right.
for example, baller alert, things of that sort. Like a lot of our community, we watch stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it because it's entertaining, which is fine. We all need that, again, that balance. From like, for example, like we're saying, tailoring for more like educational purposes, learning how to tailor the information that you do see or that you're consuming and then applying it, more so to your certain situation, or just taking bits and pieces from it as opposed to watching something that will negatively, tongue twister, negatively influence you. So, for example, if I'm watching something and it's like people fighting, off rip, like emotionally, I'm like, all right, cool. I want to see somebody get that. You know what I
We
mean?
on
Like,
the edge, like say the
you know what I'm
wrong thing,
saying?
it's gonna be,
So it's like off rip, you get that like that feeling inside. It's like, oh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And you feed into that, which is again not a bad thing for certain people who know how to control it, but you tend to go down this whole rabbit hole and you tend to watch things that become more of like a way where you find yourself being more frustrated or more angry in a negative, state of mind, as opposed to being more positive. So like I said, and you mentioned it too, but it's not, you have to differentiate reality versus what's really, being posted. So for example, a lot of males or females, when they're posting certain exercise movements or workouts or whatever the case is, you really have to ask yourself, one, is this something that's like, it looks like it's doable for most people, or if it's just something for clickbait. You get what I'm saying? Because in all
Yeah.
reality, a lot of stuff we see, I'm like, bro, I would never do that in my life. Like, I would never do that just because of the fact of it doesn't make sense to try that move.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like all these people telling you to do this and do that, or all these weird looking stuff. Like I always tell people, if it looks weird,
It
probably shouldn't
probably
be doing
is.
it.
Right.
And yeah, so it's just like let's not even go down that road. So I'm definitely with you on that aspect of, for example, somebody could post something online, and this is generally speaking. Let's say that I'm online showing a house, da da da, whatever the case is. Meanwhile, not knowing that that's it's an Airbnb. The car that I'm taking pictures up front of is probably somebody else's car, and I'm just outside and I crop to make it seem like, you know what I mean? I'm checking the time. You know how people be doing these crazy poses. Um, and then the fact of the matter, like you said, the body image situation. Before we move forward, I think the craziest thing that I won't even say craziest, but the one thing that I've realized is just the fact of like when we have some of the young ladies that'll go get surgery and stuff like that. That's fine, but the thing is don't get on camera making it seem like, hey, it's these type of exercises that got me this type of So
Right.
I think a lot of people aren't transparent, and I think they
Yeah.
feel like being transparent and a little bit more black and white might hurt them as far as like their reach and their audience and things of that sort. But we're living in this bubble, social media bubble, where it's like you're basically following somebody that has influence of 100,000, however many people, and you'd rather that person lie to you straight to your face as opposed to them being honest with you and saying like, hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie, I got me a BBL, this is what I had to do. And ladies, if you plan on doing this, remember, you're not gonna be able to go to the gym, you're not gonna be able to sleep a certain way, you're going to be in pain, and you still have to maintain what you do after your post-op. So these are situations where I feel like some of the ladies should be more transparent. Now, same thing with the guys. When I see a lot of guys with a reasonable amount of muscle mass, but the amount that they were able to acquire in a short time span, not people not realizing that they might be on certain things, because I know YouTube is gonna so
Right.
basically like things that will enhance their performance or their physique or whatever the case is. So I think that the biggest thing that I don't see as well is the fact of transparency and people being
Yeah.
honest and upfront. Like, hey, y'all, like, listen, I'll keep it real with y'all. This is what I do. But I just want you all to be safe. But I still want to give you and provide content that's going to be suitable and still kind of reaches and engages you to an extent, but take everything with a grain of salt, to say the
Yeah.
least,
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned just like transparency, because that's like a thing that I think I talk about to pretty much anybody who would listen, honestly and truly, because it's so, especially like the younger, like the Gen Z's coming like up right, but like right behind us, they're very much coming up in this very social media technology age, where everything that they're influenced by, like it's not like how us were before, we go out with our friends, we were very much like just we were kind of like in the middle between being able to kind of back out a little bit, have fun, be out in the streets, playing games, whatever like that, and still kind of come in the house, play video games, be on MySpace or whatever it was back in the day or whatever. So we still get influenced by like people who are really growing up in this time, especially like when it comes to being cyberbullied or feeling like they have to live to like to hold up like a certain kind of image up, or wanting to portray a certain kind of lifestyle, and people want to aspire to acquire certain things. And of course, we will all probably love to have the nice house, the nice car, being able to be your own boss, and everybody's pushing like wanting to be a entrepreneur now. It's like a thing that really just kind of pressures everybody to want to just like do too much too fast. And I'll be able to like just have everybody kind of like just take a step back and just realize that everybody's journey is not your journey. Sometimes their journey isn't even their journey. Like it's not like take things for as they come. If you admire somebody's physique, that's wonderful. Even if you want to get surgery done, there's honestly should be no shame if you want to do anything with your own body that you choose to do under your own will. But it's like make sure that you're telling your audience, that people who really follow you, who really want to and be influenced to aspire to have what you have, to look like how you look. Like just be honest with them. Like, hey, I did get this surgery done, but I still hired a trainer to kind of help maintain it. But if you do both sides, you can probably, get exactly where I am, but get to however this looks like for you. Or if you want to go the more like, natural route, just being able to just grind it out or working out and fixing your diet, fixing your habits and working on your overall wellness. I feel like that's the way that gives you the overall most satisfaction. But I understand people, might want to cut corners here and there. So I get that as well. But it's like the transparency part for me is like the big thing that I want everybody to kind of just not have so much shame in it, because at some point everything kind of just comes out to be what the truth really is anyway. So it's like that's why when I was doing my journey, I did honestly feel the pressure to want to kind of like, stuck in the stomach for certain pictures. You want to really like, show yourself to lose this weight in like so much more time. And it's like that wasn't healthy for me to do as somebody who was even trying to push that kind of narrative out. It's like I'm putting a unrealistic goal on myself. And my thing for anybody is to have realistic expectations and have realistic goals. You're not gonna lose 15 pounds in like a week. You probably could, but what's like, the healthiest way for you to actually lose that weight? That's the whole thing. It's like this is not about a quick weight loss thing. It's not about trying to get a certain kind of physique, a certain kind of figure. It's about having a wellness lifestyle to like to have your body function the way it's supposed to. Which is why I'm also glad that you mentioned like these wild workouts that that's on online, that you would see people like hanging off roof balconies and doing certain things, whatever like that. And it's like exercise is to help build your body's functionality at its core, because we're always looking up to reach and grab things, bend down to pick up stuff, turn our bodies, twisting, bending, squatting, whatever. It's like we're building you up to be able to do these things that you're going to do naturally anyway, but in a more functional way. That way, as you're doing it over a lifespan, your body does not break down as quickly. That's what we're literally here to work out and to do for. And of course, you want to look good doing it as well. But it's like you don't have to have these extreme moves to lose weight. It looks amazing, going through Instagram, seeing somebody just do these crazy wild stunts. We can still admire it because it takes strength and skill to do these certain things. Do not get me wrong, but it's like if you're just trying to have a wellness journey and you're trying to just get to a healthy place for yourself, all of that is not required because I don't want anybody to get intimidated, on the same breath. Feel like, they have to go these extra miles to be able to get even somewhat of a similar result.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because there's two things. The first thing that you had mentioned is the fact of with a lot of these exercises, they look great. But my concern, and I think the concern that other people should have, is in the event that somebody is so intrigued by that movement, and try it out, and in the event that they injure themselves, now what happens? Who do you blame? You know? So you had mentioned it earlier is again, just really pinpointing in regards to what you want from your body. I think that's the main thing. A lot of people don't sit down and create a plan. They don't really realize, okay, this is my goal. Okay, I want to lose X amount. That's the main goal. But other than that, what exactly do you want? Ask yourself, what's your why? That's what I like to ask people. And it should be more than one why. So now when you're thinking about, okay, like you said, I want to be able to incorporate everyday movements, but being able to do them properly. So even going upstairs, people just think that there's a certain way that you should go upstairs. And it's so crazy. It's the small things, even as coaches, we start to notice. And as I'm going upstairs, I'm like, ooh, I need to shift more back in my hips as opposed to leaning forward on my knee. You know what I mean? So you start to notice these small little things, and these are everyday movements. So like you said, I think the most important thing is really, as an individual, figuring out what your why is and then creating a plan. So if you're going to go through the social media content, again, a needle through a haystack, you're more than welcome to grab some of those things. But I always like to lead people first more on not necessarily the scientifical, but people who have that background and that education that they can break it down in layman term. So when you're looking at it, it's like, okay, we're talking about posterior rotation, whatever, whatever. We're talking in our terminology, medial, like, external, all this stuff. And they're just like, what? As opposed to somebody telling you, hey, just push your hips back, keep that core tight, neck out, whatever the case is. So it's like, oh, okay, I can understand that. And this is coming from a person that had 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years worth of not even just schooling, it's more experience, like real life applying with, all of their internships through college or university and working with all these different types of teams and then being able to give you these functional movements, I think is really important. Then incorporating, of course, I guess what we call like social media influencers that do have a reach. But again, I think the most important part is as you're looking through a lot of these movements, it's kind of unfortunate that the person that's doing this crazy stuff is not like, hey, Joy, as just a disclaimer, this is not for everybody. If you have any, injuries as of right now, I would highly suggest you not to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And at least put that in there. So it's up. I mean, it's still regardless up to the person, but I still feel like it's imperative as a person that's influencing others to do something that might look so, spaced out. It's like, hey, let me give you a disclaimer first before you try to do anything. So in the event something happens, you don't have to be like, oh, Joy, she told me to do this and now I want to unfollow her because I hurt myself. But that's your fault. Like, you know what I mean? You have to hold yourself accountable too. So I think a lot of it has to do with, again, knowing your why. I think it's also on the behalf of the influencer, the person that's recording the content, to drop a disclaimer with a lot of, especially with moves that look crazy. Like for example, I see guys do muscle ups, and I'm like, bro, I wouldn't do that because I have a bad left shoulder. But again, that's just me being mindful. The average person when they see is like, yo, this looks lit. Like, let me go try it, and not necessarily get a full grasp of like the directions of how to do it properly and going through the movement. So, it's not, although it looks super easy, you have to be mindful of what to engage and making sure that your upper body is prepared to lift the rest of your body upwards and not potentially cause an impingement or whatever, just so you know. But ultimately, I think those are some of the things that, that do play a huge, huge role as well, too, with social media. But overall, I just feel like just being in a position where, like you said, just filtering your page. I think it really comes back down to that. Like I told you, I've been following and unfollowing a lot of pages just due to the fact of reciprocation, So if you're not reciprocating as far as follows, interactions, things of that sort, why are you following the person? Like, to be completely straightforward. Now, if you're reaching out to a person or whatever the case is, and they're not really cool, I'm going to unfollow. Or if it's content that I'm like, why? At what point? Where was I? At that point in time in life where this what I is what I thought was entertaining, and having to exit out. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of that does play a huge factor as well. Hang tight. Give me 1 second. So with a couple of, I just want to go ahead and drop a couple of other things as well. You're more than welcome to cut me off whenever. Um, so we went over as far as like the image, people seeing and being able to differentiate reality versus what's being posted.
Yeah.
Now we already spoke about emotional awareness as well, as far as people being mindful of what they see, how it makes them feel. And it even comes down at the beginning of their day, like we had said. So last episode talking about creating affirmations. But at the same time, I think the main thing is when you wake up, what's the first thing that you do? We already spoke about that too.
Right. And just to kind of like add on, just to add on to that for like a real quick topic, a real quick note. First thing you should do in the morning, I know the normal probably is like to grab a phone, grab a laptop, to grab some kind of way to get on social media, to get on some kind of like social networking site. I think the best practice, my personal opinion, is to not engage with any kind of social media first thing in the morning, because your body, like your brain is so receptive, during that time of day, to where it just that kind of sets like the tone for how your day is, going to go going forward. So if you open your phone up and you haven't filtered out all the the toxic accounts off of your feed just yet, you're opening up in this shade room, something like this, somebody had you opened up in some kind of post or for comment or whatever, just triggers you to want to be able to respond, to kind of to be like a little more like argumentative or back with somebody. That's going to feed into how you move and talk to other people throughout the rest of your day. So that's why I really preach on first thing you do when you get up, up in the morning, have your affirmations. If you're spiritual, put on some kind of sermon first thing in the morning. That's my personal routines, affirmations, like a nice sermon in the morning, and then just some good like hype, music for me to go to work and kind of just get in a good uplifting kind of spirit. But like however your routine plays out for you, it's like leave that for lunchtime going forward. Like just get like have your day start to where you're feeding yourself positive, informative things, having your mindset tailored to be able to tackle whatever task you have for the day. Whether it's for sending out so many emails for work, or having your kids go to school on time, or finishing a project, creating a plan for your new business, whatever it could be that you have set for that day. Let that be your focus for the very beginning, and then let everything else kind of follow behind that. That's the one thing I kind of want to just throw in there. Really quick.
Absolutely, of course. And I'll piggyback to give everybody a perspective of what I do as well. So same thing. I usually get up early in the day, and the first thing that I usually do when I wake up, I actually pop in headphones, and I'm usually listening to some type of affirmation. So whether it's wealth and abundance or something of that sort. And of course, the way I think about it is I'm programming my mind and trying to incorporate new habits and create those new connections mentally at first. That's the first thing I do in the daytime as well. So as I go through that, I'm brushing my teeth or whatever the case is. Another thing that I feel like, and I guess that would go more with the affirmations as well, but usually I like to just sit with myself and just be aware, be present of how I feel as soon as I get up, right? Focusing on my breathing, on my thought process, just how I feel, but also just trying to empty my mind and clear my mind. I don't want to think about anything, just being present at that moment. Then going into to the day. So for example, I have one client, then I'll come back to the house, and then I'll go out in the sun, and then I sunbathe. So those are some of the things where I feel like for me personally, just being out in nature, where some people could write in a journal. For me, just being out in nature and just being one with my environment is actually what makes me feel better. So that's like you said, I think the most important thing is just getting up and decompartmentalizing and keeping that social media where it is, because usually when we do get on it, it's like 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then it turns into and
A few hours. If it's
right.
really I get caught up in it. It's very easy.
And the
Yeah.
thing that people don't realize again too is that people are getting paid to code to make sure that you stay on their platform. Like people don't realize that. And this is why even for me, like I look into like interviews with Facebook and all these other people because it's not the person like Mark Zuckerberg. They're not talking about the main person. I like to see the people behind the scenes that's
Right.
actually making everything work and keeping you here. You get what I'm saying? So I think it's really imperative for people to really focus on the beginning of their day and how they moving forward. Like you said, it'll set the rest of the tone for your day as well. Um, if I could also add in for technically it's for the next thing that we have is when you're on social media, leverage social media. And the crazy thing is, I was just in the car and I was listening to this. I don't even remember. I don't even know what radio channel, like whatever, well, station it was. And what blew my mind, they were talking about, I believe it was football, and it just all of a sudden, like as soon as I turn on the car, they're talking about creating content. I'm like, whoa, okay, all right, cool. Like, and how to tailor your content. I was like, okay, cool. And then they drop my name. So they're talking about somebody else, Deion Sanders. That's actually who I'm named after, a famous football player. But they're like, well, this is what he's doing. This is what he's doing. He's creating and he's networking. And that's the word that I really want everybody to realize. Network. So you and I are in two different states. You get what I'm saying? Whether it's,
Right.
2, 3 states away, it really doesn't matter. But it's the fact of that we can leverage social media to communicate with each other. We have the same ideals. We have a lot of the same values, morals, and the same vision when it comes to fitness and what we're trying to provide for not only our audience but what we call our family or our community. Because although we might have two separate audiences, we're still collectively all one because we're still working together. So I think what a lot of people kind of like overlook or throw underneath the radar is how many great relationships that you can build and friendships and networking opportunities that you can leverage all online. You know what I mean? So we live in the world of everything being online, literally. So it's like, why wouldn't you leverage that? Most people aren't even meeting face to face, for example, for dating anymore, which is crazy to me. People are meeting through Facebook, people are meeting through all these different types of apps, and
Yes.
everybody's cool with it, which is it's okay because I guess that's kind of what we're transitioning to. But like I said, I think networking is one of the main things that a lot of people don't leverage enough. So, for example, a lot of people have this crab in a barrel mentality and feel like, okay, just because Joy is doing well, you know what I'm
Don't
saying?
get me
Like,
started with the crab and the bucket mentality. Do not get me on my soapbox, but I'm gonna let you finish.
please do hold that, and I'll be done really quick. But my thing is if I have a platform with 20,000 followers, saying whatever the case is, and I'm reaching a lot of people in one state and a couple of other states. If I see you up and coming, why wouldn't I leverage you and tell you, all right, cool, like let's work together. So what we can do is build brand awareness for the both of us. On top of that, we can help each other with any goals or anything that we have in mind. So we can utilize each other as a resource. Of course, the friendship, but it's like why I don't see why people are scared because I got 20,000 followers, you have 4 or 5,000. I feel like you might take my people. You get what I'm saying? Meanwhile, we have two different messages. We're still the same person, but we have two different messages, and the way we resonate and how we communicate and push out that message
It's totally
might
different.
resonate with a person completely different with you versus me. But go ahead before you lose your train of thought because I know how we are.
Yes, and you pretty much you kind of hit the nail on the head with what you were starting to say. And it's just people tend to think that if I pour into you, then I'm at a loss. And that's not at all what it is. And call me biased. I don't take it as me being biased, but I'm very much about my own community. Like I want to see us prosper. I want to see us grow. I want to see us become people who are known for have legacies of generational wealth. Because we don't have that truly established as of right now. We are the generation that started to build generational wealth. So like if I see my queen or my king next to me and they're over here doing absolutely amazing in whatever they do, like whether it's fitness, whether it's marketing, whether it's just, they're a chef, I don't care what they're doing. If I see somebody else trying to better themselves and I have even a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of information that can just make them go that next step, to give them a little more confidence to take that next, opportunity, then why would I not do it? And I don't lose anything from it. Like we can literally do the exact same thing. We can both be online fitness coaches, having a similar audience and everything, but we're still two different people. Like folks who come to me resonate with me because of what I offer, because of my personality, because of how I convey my own messages, because of how I am. They will resonate with me, and the same thing for that person as well. So I don't care. They come between both of us. Like there's enough out here for everybody to be able to prosper and to be able to get, whatever they need to be able to push themselves forward in whatever they have doing. And what also I don't too much care to see as well is that when people kind of get to a certain stature as far as their success, and then it's not like a crab in a bucket mentality. It's more of like, well, now I have the cheat code to to how to become successful, and I don't mind sharing it with you, but at a cost. And at a cost that's not reasonable to who who really needs that kind of, information. I know we like to put a price tag on just about everything. And there's nothing wrong for you being paid for your work. You should want to be compensated according to what value you bring to somebody. Absolutely. And, for sure, there's no doubt about it. But everything is not needs to have a price tag attached to it. Some things could just be you giving back to your people because you want to see them prosper as well. Now it comes to you having to really walk somebody through a step, have a full course for that, then go ahead and create a whole program, put whatever price tag you want to have on it. Those who can't feed into that will feed into it. Those who can't will find somebody else who can, give them what they need to at least get to that point where they can, buy your program, buy your coaching services, whatever that may be. But it's just like, don't be so stingy with being able to help people. Like I feel like just based on my own beliefs, like having a giving spirit will give you more in the longer run. So like there's no need for me personally to try to hold back any kind of knowledge. There's no need for me to feel like I have to compete with anybody. I'm honestly competing with nobody, and nobody should try to compete with anybody. Like yes, within your business realm, you want to be competitive for your market. But like when it comes to how you market with other people, like with how you communicate with people who are also within your industry, it should just be a chance for you to network, to just share tips, share information, just share knowledge, help everybody grow up together, because we need our community to actually do this together to make our kids and our kids' kids actually able to reap the benefits of what we're trying to lay the foundation for right now.
100%. I couldn't say it any better. I'm going to piggyback really quick because you said some stuff. Everything you said is like amazing. But like you said, when it comes to the community, and so first and foremost, I'm just going to keep it black and white. Our community in particular, we don't have enough of each other helping. This is why we have a situation where there's so much friction, because of that whole crabs in the barrel and based on how certain people were brought up. I get that. Now, fast forward with the information that we have. So I feel like what happens with some, like you said, they get to a point to where it's not even complacency at that point. It's just more like all right, cool. I'm at a point to where I got 450,000 followers, or even 15, 20,000 followers, right? And there's a whole number game that people do. So for example, let's say in our reality, somebody has 20,000 followers. If they post something, whether it's video or photo, they might get maybe 1,000 to 2,000 likes. You get what I'm saying? So it really breaks down to almost about 10% of what they have. And that's just showing who's engaged. There's people who engage, but there's people who physically like and things of that sort, right? Then think about, let's say that person has a service. You can cut that in half and think about maybe 1,000 people might be interested. Then cut that again into about 500. Those are potentially the people that might buy. And realistically, you might get half of that, which is that 250, right? So
Yeah.
I say all that just because of the fact of, it's not, like you said, it's not everything you can put a price tag on. And I feel like people aren't stupid. You get what I'm saying? And I hate to just use a blatant, a harsh word like that. But what I mean by that is, if you come on my page, I actually had a gentleman, I'm not going to say his name. He's actually in your city. And like he was like, yeah, whatever the case, like I saw his stuff, I liked it or whatever, and he reaches out into the inbox. And I used to be a person where I'm very hesitant with certain people reaching out because you already know what it is. People are trying to sell you something. People act like they care and they really don't care. They're just trying to leverage themselves and also, their business. So basically, this dude he was kind of like, it felt like a G check in a way, where he was just asking questions like he tried to seem, nice or whatever, but bro, we could smell through it. We could get straight through it. We know what time it is. So I'm like,
Right.
whatever. Let me go ahead and let me play the role. Yeah, I'm doing great, whatever, whatever. So how's the business going? Once he said that, I already knew what time it was. This dude has like 20, 30,000 followers. Why are you reaching out to me? Which more than likely makes me feel like it's actually a team member. It's not him, right? So fast forward, he's asking these questions like, yeah, so what are your plans for your business? I'm like, so you basically telling me to give you my whole plan. That's like you going to Apple and asking Apple, what are you going to do for your phone next year? Like, I'm not going to tell you everything in detail. So, of course, I kept it brief, like, yeah, focusing on brand awareness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, cool. Yeah. At any given time, if you have any questions, whatever, whatever, left it at that. So then came back around maybe a couple, weeks or whatever, and reached out like, hey, how's the business going? Whatever, whatever, whatever. We do help coaches. If you want, we can set up a 30-minute call free of charge, whatever the case is. And I saw it and I literally left it on red. And I'm saying everything just due to the fact of because again, the intentions of somebody you'll know usually off rip. You get what I'm saying? Because if that person, like I said, isn't really engaging into your content, like for example, just even commenting, whether it's emojis or words and emojis, whatever the case is, that's kind of like the first initiation where I'm like, okay, this person actually like, all right, they probably rock with me. They'll like a couple of things here and there. I'm not expecting somebody to follow me immediately, but just showing that, okay, cool, we're engaging with each other. Then from there, we'll do the follow. Then we'll probably reach out in DM or whatever the case is and do some like voice audio messages or whatever. But I feel like a lot of people just don't realize that it's easier to give information out for free because one, it makes you look more genuine and it shows your true intention. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
although I know that, hey, my bills need to be paid, at the same time, I still realize that there's information to some extent that I could still give out for free. And I do have my certain, not even certain type of information, but the way I've organized my information, whether it's on an online course or if it's on an ebook or if it's on, a already made program for the next 6, 12 weeks for a client, we have different services and different products for people at all different costs or I guess budget ranges. So you have all of that but still give free food for thought because it just shows that dang, like Joy just giving me the game, meanwhile she's still running her whole business. You get what I'm saying? Like you're not giving the
Right.
whole game but enough to where it's like okay, for like say you got people that reach out to you very frequently and ask the same question, I'm gonna give that game out for free. You get what I'm saying? Because I have enough people that's asking, and I know I'll be able to give some type of value with that content that I'm going to give to the person. Now, if it's something where, like you said, it's more specific, then yeah, like you said, if I need to hold your hand, I need to show you how to do this. I need to program for you. I need to do macro coaching. I need to do pictures, measurements, all this other stuff.
Right.
There's going to be a lot more, and now you're paying for me and my time and my experience. That's
Right.
different. If I'm asking a quick question, da da da, you send me a link and then basically I'm going through a email funnel where it's like you're trying to sell me something. It's like, bro, I don't want to have to click through all this stuff just to find out I need to put my email in and then you'll give me a free ebook that's like 2 pages that leaves me on a cliffhanger. You get what I'm saying? So I think again, there's just levels to everything and realizing that the crabs in the barrel mentality doesn't really get anybody far, especially with being in a position where I grew up in West Palm, where not saying it's a bad place, but there's not enough being done for our youth in our community,
Right.
primarily because, like I tell people, they're literally the next, they're our future. You get what I'm saying? So that this generation right now, the ones underneath them, even I got cousins at like 3, 4 years old, know how to use an iPad inside out. So my thing is instead of keeping them locked on their phones, how about we put together a group of different coaches that are in the area, Latino, African American, whatever the case is, all minorities, including all people. It doesn't really matter, but really emphasizing in the areas that we know need the help in the community. So if we're able to offer some type of like summer camp for the kids or whatever the case is, and incorporate the
Yeah.
moms and dads, where we do half for the kids and half for them, or do partnership work, things of that sort, to just bring that value back and show that people do genuinely care and
Right.
don't
Yeah.
charge anything for it. You get what I'm saying? It's just the fact of, hey, this is like you said, it's me being open hearted and open minded and knowing that giving is a situation where you tend to receive more because you're not expecting so much in return. I think a lot of people are so stuck in a mentality of, okay, if I do this, I mean, and it's okay. Like, I mean, hey, if we're putting in work, but your instant your instinct shouldn't be initially, hey, if I do this, I can make this type of money. It's more like, yo,
Right.
this is crazy content. I know it's gonna resonate with people. And if something else comes out of it, then it does. But you don't want to put all your, like they say, all your eggs in one basket more so. So I just really wanted to, piggyback off of what you're saying because a lot of people don't realize like there's really levels to this shit. Like, excuse my French, but there really is.
It
People
really
don't think
is.
about this. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like having people, especially being an entrepreneur, if you don't have the funds, and I'm telling you, it's not cheap. If you don't have the funds to start promoting and marketing, people want you to spend like $2, $3, $4,000. As an entrepreneur, we're thinking about different ways to diversify those funds into other funnels and avenues that can still basically leverage us as a company and a entrepreneur. So it doesn't make sense for me to spend $3,000. It makes more sense for me to spend, for example, just to give some free game to people, $200 to $300 on an hour photo shoot with somebody that might have 80, 90, 100,000 followers, and then utilize that as leverage for the company. So you get headshots, basically create, an ideal photo shoot where, yeah, you have everything listed out, take all the photos you need. Cause now what you could do is use those professional shots as just regular posts. And then you can start doing different things with them as well.
And then not even that, it's like you're also getting exposed to their audience as well, because they're posting their work. So it's like
Exactly.
there's like, okay, so who is this person, looking like they have some kind of business going on? Oh, I love it. That shit, if they tag you in it too, that's just free exposure.
That's
Right
free
there.
exposure to 100,000 people. Why wouldn't you spend not even spend? Why would you not invest $300
Invest.
into your company?
Come on, terminology.
You get what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it's the thought process. People are like, man, I ain't gonna pay that because again, they're so used to money leaving their pocket, but not realizing if you invest into something, it's gonna reciprocate and then put you in a
Yes.
better position. So this
Yes.
is why I tell people it makes more sense to invest that $300 there with that photographer and work with different people in different states or whatever the case is, and being like-minded and helping each other create content, or like we said, just helping each other polish on certain things and giving back. And again, not expecting anything because I just want to genuinely see you, like, I just want to see you grind. I want to see you hustle. And I know you have that potential. You know you have that potential. We just need to help each other in the sense of making sure that we get there collectively as one group, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense.
But I'm trying to think. I think I got everything that we were supposed to talk about. Because yeah, we spoke about reality versus like true expectations, being mindful of your energy and making sure that you're emotionally aware when you're on social media,
Yeah.
taking the time to incorporate new things that you're learning in a positive manner and removing anything that might be negative throughout your feed. We also spoke about connecting with different people on social media, and
Yes.
utilizing it more as a way to engage and learn about new people and just find a way to interact socially with different individuals and getting to know people. And then lastly, the one that we didn't, I think we touched on it a little bit, but we were speaking about early in the day what we do. But I just want to finish everything off with the last one, which is just mainly six things. But focusing on spending time to relax and setting time
Yes.
frames as well. So like, for example, most phones can, they can set a timer for how long you're on that app. If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. I get people that come to me like, yo, you didn't see this? Yo, you didn't. No, like I'm not that I'm not aware, I'm oblivious of what's going on social media. There's just so many other moving parts that's more of a priority for me. So we know
Yeah.
that if we're going to invest our energy into studying, programming for our clients, or just training people in general, whether it's physically or online, that's where we're going to be investing most of our energy and our time. So, just realizing that social media is not everything. It is not everything. And the one thing that I want everybody to think about, in the event that social media, all platforms were to shut down tomorrow, what would you do?
Ooh, smells what they will be falling off of buildings right now. They just be calling, finding Mark Zuckerberg's number. Like, how can I call them right now? Because I need my page back up. But the thing is, I love that you mentioned this for the last one because I also wanted to bring it up as well about being okay taking breaks from social media. Like that was like one of the biggest lessons that I think I personally learned last year, especially when into this era of everybody wants to be a social media influencer. They want to be their own business owner. They want to be able to, have a certain following, influence, whatever like that. Like, have content 5 times a day, being able to engage with all these people all day. And then you kind of get caught up in the overwhelm of what everybody's telling you that you should do to be productive, that you kind of lose what you're really on the platform for. So it's like kind of like how we said earlier, like take emotional awareness of where you are when you log into the app. If you know that at some point when you scroll for too long, that you start to play like a real comparison game where it goes from you admiring somebody to you comparing yourself to them. That's a key telltale sign that I might need to go ahead and just log out and just close this app down for a few minutes or whatever.
100%.
Or it's like, if you feel yourself just kind of like getting overwhelmed by just wanting to uphold a certain online image, like it's like we are within our own worlds, like we have so much going on. So it's like it's okay to take time off to work on your business, because when you're ready to come back on, you have a plan for how you want to actually market yourself going forward. It's okay to take time to study to help better yourself. That way you're able to come back on and actually give this knowledge to people who follow you, because you've taken the time to really become a student yourself. We should always strive to be lifetime learners. That's the thing that I think that can just help you grow in so many different areas. Just always be willing to be a sponge for information and taking the time to give yourself time to really learn the information, put it into practice, and then be able to give that same knowledge back to people. So it's okay if you want to go. When I tell you at this point, folks think I'm online way more than I really am. I think some of this, I think at the first time we actually hopped on, we was like, we really come on and we'll post something, and it's like, we're not following to see like who's liking, who's commenting, who's whatever. Like, am I getting 10 followers for every post I make? It's like, if somebody resonate with what I say, that's beautiful. If I get 1 or 2 comments like, yes, I need that message, thank you for the post, I'm gonna try this workout when I get off of work. If I even get 1 comment like that for that day, I've done my job. So I could close the app and go to bed and sleep so peaceful, knowing that I still was able to help somebody else learn something new. I was able to help somebody else overcome their anxiety or their depression, or just start to have tools to rebuild their own confidence. Like, we shouldn't be held up on a bunch of double taps and comments. But at the end of the day, like, I think it's so great to be able to take a step back and be present with where you are in life. That's a huge thing that we can kind of get lost, because so much of how we live now is based upon our social media networks. And it's like, yes, connect with people online, absolutely, because at this point, the world is your network. You can be somebody who lives across the globe in China, or who lives, in California, and you're on the East Coast, and able to really have a genuine connection with them.
Think we lost you. Think we might have lost you.
Communities, but at the same time go back and spend time with your family, your partners, like be like rebuild or build upon your already established relationship with people who are actually within your real life circle. Have time with friends, have time just for yourself, just to be able to meditate, to take yourself out on dates, or just little trips to help you kind of just get back into your own self-care mode. Because when you come back onto the platform, you're relaying your foundation about who you are, your balance in your life. So you have your networks to come on, and you can kiki with the shade room, be able to gain a little knowledge, network. And then when it's time, you don't mind closing out and come back into the real world and still being able to enjoy yourself in the present moment as well. So I'm glad that we ended at least this segment on this particular point, because I'm so, at this point, after going through my own experience, I'm very much an advocate for able to take a social media break, especially for all my business owners who get overwhelmed with wanting to have all this content come out all the time. Pre-plan your content. That way you're able to get all that stuff out the way and take a break. Take a break, build on yourself, build on your business, come back with a plan, come back stronger. The audience that's for you, the audience that's really going to support you and ride with you, through your endeavors, they will be completely understanding because we're all people. We all bleed red. We all are, having similar life experiences. We can be able to understand and have empathy for why, how you can see kind of how you can see celebrities who can be gone off of their pages for months and come back like, hey, I was going through a hard time. This and the third happened. I was going through a depression, and you're able to resonate that because you understand that it can happen to yourself as well. So it's like if you need to time, then go ahead by all means, take that time, restructure, recuperate, read, like come back into yourself again, and then go forward with that clear mind and that clear emotions.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful. Um, I low-key just want you to finish off at that, but I do have, I want to piggyback with the social media break because that's actually something like you had said you experienced, and I actually experienced about 2 to 3 weeks ago as well. Is just realizing that, especially within the U.S., we live in a society where we're so focused on the rat race and always trying to keep up, with everything going on. And then when you have social media influencers or people that you follow or people around you that are in the same career path, what you end up noticing is that you start like, okay, damn, like this person already posted, like, damn, I need to be on my ish, like, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, yeah,
I think the most important thing that I've learned, and you mentioned it too, is pre-planning your content. So I'll take a Sunday and take 2.5, 3 hours, as long as that might sound, to have everything from basically Monday through Saturday. All of my posts, all of my daily motivations written out. And then from there, I'm doing my affirmations on a day to day basis. But then from there, I'm just downloading them the night before, and I have all my hashtags ready. I have everything ready, everything written out, and then literally copy, paste, add, and move on. So that's why, for example, I'm sure you're the same way. We're able to drop content so quickly, and then for me at least, I'll be gone for the whole day. And people are like, yo, I'm like, I don't need to be on the platform all day for what? Excuse me. Yes, it's really important for brand awareness, but the fact that you're still active, I think, is one thing. And I think what a lot of people kind of get, I don't want to say scared of, but they get a little bit of cold feet. And I know I did because it's like, okay, I've built up all this hype, and then if I disappear, all the hype is going to disappear. But then I had to tell myself, why does it matter? You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's the content that should still resonate with people. It's the person that still resonates with people. So if, the people that are following you in your audience realize that, oh, okay, do you enjoy they're in a situation right now where they just need to prioritize themselves. But I'm happy for them because I know when they come back, they're coming in tenfold, they're coming in hard. You get what I'm saying? And then they'll be able to bring us that information that we do need. So I think it is very imperative, like we said, to focus on taking that break and knowing when you need it, because what ended up happening to me was I went through a burnout phase where I
yes,
would catch myself on the computer and I was getting frustrated in this chair, literally on the same laptop, hunched over for 2.5 hours, whether it's editing through Canva, whether it's trying to create content, and editing takes the longest amount of time. So
yes,
just giving yourself that time throughout the day. Hey, I'm going to edit for just 1 hour and that's it. But Capricorns, I know how I am. It's like when we start something, we want to finish it, but learning how to turn that thing off in our heads, like, hey, I know it's hard, but go do something else. Just get away from this computer,
right,
reprioritize and really just, like you said, find that balance. And then when you come back, it's like, okay, you'll see who your true audience is. And that's when you'll start to notice like people are going to start unfollowing you. All that doesn't matter. That actually confirms the people that are leaving essentially are not interested, and it's going to make more space for other people. There's not going to be a
exactly.
cap out for you. So, I think that's really just something just to finish it off that I think is important. But before we do end it, was there any other things that you wanted to drop as well?
I just wanted to maybe even do like a nice little recap, like when it comes to your mental wellness and social media. So, like we said, like, take into like go ahead and filter out that feed. I need you to go ahead and clean it out to where you set your intentions for what you want to gain from your experience with your with your social networks, whether you want to be educated, whether you want entertainment, whether you want to be inspired, whatever you want from it, like make sure that you have your feed tailored so that when you log onto the app and you can scroll on any given day at any given time, you're able to be fed what you actually want to be fed. and still having time to understand when too much time is too much time. So either creating a schedule for yourself to know, okay, I know that I have to be able to engage online at some point, maybe like 1 hour a day after work. I'll go ahead and just have my time, just sit back on the couch and just scroll and enjoy myself and just a kiki all day and have that time to be yourself. And then shut it off and go back to, being present in your real life. Make sure that you're staying emotionally aware. That way, in case you're starting to feel that the anxiety, that pressure to want to conform to whatever you see online, that you're able to see that, feel it, recognize it. It's like, okay, I think I might take like at least a good day or so to just kind of take a step back and realign myself spiritually, mentally, or emotionally, and then come back when I know that I'm actually ready to see somebody else out here prospering without wanting to feel resentful of themselves or guilty myself for not being in that same place. So be very emotional aware, and then just takes time and space if you need it. It's okay to be gone for a day, for a week, for a month. If anybody's there who's truly going to support you for what you do and what you have to offer to them, they will be able to empathize, they will be able to understand, and they will be there when you're able to come back in your true healthy form. They'll be there to welcome you back as well. And just creating a balance between your real life, your real relationships, your real families, and then everything that you build online as well. Like keeping those things where they both hold a good precedence of what is important to you, but still nothing weighs more than the other. And you're able to still have it, and be able to really pour into both sides equally, because you're also being filled in yourself as well. So I think I kind of just put everything together like that. I think this has been absolutely an amazing episode. I tend to always kind of go into the closeout. I'm used to doing my old YouTube channel for so long. I kind of just flow into it sometimes. But it's like, of course, as always, like, let us know what's your biggest, thing that you resonate with this episode was, your biggest takeaway. Always let Deion know on his page on Instagram or down here on the YouTube comments. You guys know my handles at Monique_fitness. I would love to hear any and all responses, comments, whatever it is, feedback. I'm here for all that. I'm here for any kind of dialogue or conversation. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube as well.
Don't y'all forget.
No, like do not forget to go ahead and subscribe. This thing is going to be taking off and really going to be a thing where people can really come on this and be able to just sit back and listen and gain so much knowledge, so much insight, and be inspired to really go out there and really affect change within yourself. So get it while it's still young, get it while it's still fresh. So this thing is popping off, you don't feel like you was left behind.
Right.
But yeah.
But yeah, so we appreciate everybody joining us today. So like Monique said, Ms. Joy, I have a tendency of like using people's like mid name for whatever odd reason. But yeah, so like Joy was saying, definitely just think about everything that we had mentioned today. See what resonates with you. Let us know below. And what I'm going to be doing is dropping all of her information as well too. So for her social media, so make sure you follow Joy. All right, follow her social media. We're talking about YouTube. We're talking about Facebook. We're talking about Instagram. We need y'all on everything. Make sure you're liking. Make sure you're sharing. Y'all know we have to do this. We have to do this.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? So again, we greatly appreciate every last one of you. But definitely let us know down below, and we'll get to those questions, and we'll do some more videos for you all. So we'll catch up with you.
All right. Bye, y'all.